Hello, Lucy and Acadia. Look who we have here. Before I start reading to you this morning, Grandmommy wants to say hi.
Hello, Lucy. Hello, Acadia. How are you?
Okay, there we go. That's Grandmommy. She's sitting at the table with her computer in front of her. She's doing some work, and that's the outside.
You can see
Anyway.
the flower. There's one flower outside.
Okay, there's one flower. Okay, oh, you see there's a flower out there.
There's one flower.
Okay, so there we go. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my office and I'll read to you. I have another Kingdom of Renly book. I'm out of Mermaid Sisters of the Sea, Mermaid SOS. I don't have another one of those right now. I'll check in the library later. Maybe we'll find one. But today I'm going to read a Kingdom of Renly book. Remember those? Hope you like them. Here we go. Set the camera down. It's rainy here. The remnants of the hurricane that went through Florida are now passing by us, and it's just a lot of rain. It's not windy or anything. It's just a lot of rain. Okay. The Kingdom of Renly, Pegasus Quest. Pegasus. Pegasus is a creature of Greek mythology, and it is, in Greek mythology, Pegasus is the name of a horse that has wings on it. Wings. Okay. The Kingdom of Renly. Okay, these are long books. I'm going to read the first half to you. And then we'll read the second half later. Remember the Kingdom of Renly? We have the palace. We have the Mermaid's Cove. We read a book about the mermaids in the Mermaid's Cove. Crestwood, Hobbsgrove, the mainland, Bogsporp, Flatfrost, Premlocks. Birth over here. Okay. The Kingdom of Renly, Pegasus Quest. Here are the names of the chapters. I'll read the chapter names. This says contents. That means that's what's in the book, contents. Chapter 1, Song of the Owls. Chapter 2, Troubled Trolls. Chapter 3, The Stranger. Chapter 4, The Ghost Horse. Chapter 5, A Very Good Idea. Chapter 6, Dragon Talk. Chapter 7, The Stall. Chapter 8, Night Flight. Chapter 9, Grace. And Chapter 10, The Salve. Okay. Song of the Owls, Chapter 1. Remember who these people are? Well, we're going to find out if you don't remember. Remember the dragon and the prince and his friend. Prince Lucas, that's the name of the prince, and his best friend, Clara Gills, leaned on the balcony railing and gazed at the full moon. A ribbon of blue light shimmered across the Sea of Renly. But this was no ordinary moon. It was a blue moon, something so rare it is said to happen only once in a lifetime. All the owls in the kingdom flocked together and sang once in a blue moon. Lucas and Clara waited and listened for the owl song. Ruskin yawned, that's the dragon Ruskin, stretched and curled up near the children. The young scarlet dragon had no interest in singing owls. He shut his eyes and sighed peacefully. Look at that enormous blue cloud, said Clara, pointing. Lucas tilted his head back. It's been there since this afternoon, he said. I know, Clara said, studying the cloud. It hasn't budged. That's kind of odd. Usually clouds move. This is a blue cloud and it hasn't moved. Lucas looked at the great cloud thoughtfully. Maybe there's a floating castle inside of it, he said. Clara laughed. You read too many fairy tales, she said jokingly. And most of them have turned out to be true, Lucas reminded her. Clara shook her head. You're such a dreamer. They began to hear a steady thrum. Thrum, 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 thrum. That's what a thrum sounds like. Thrum, 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 thrum. It sounded like the deep beating of wings. The friends turned toward the blue moon and gasped in wonder. Hundreds of owls swirled across the moonlight. The children stood very still and listened. The owl song began softly and gradually got louder. See, the story is that when you have a blue moon, the owls get together and they sing, but it only happens during a blue moon. Look at all the owls. Hoo-ha, hoo-hoo-hoo, hoo-ha, hoo-hoo-hoo. That's the owl song. I'm probably not singing it right because I'm not an owl, but that's what they're saying. A lot of hoo-has and hoo-hoo-hoos. Goosebumps tingled and swept over the children. Listen, whispered Lucas. They sound so spooky, like a ghostly chorus. There they are. See the picture there? Like a ghostly chorus, agreed Clara. The owls sang and soared gracefully, round and round in the blue glowing night sky. Wow, I wish I could fly like an owl, Lucas said, spreading his arms out. Me too, said Clara. If I had wings, I'd fly right up to that cloud. The owls finished their eerie song and disappeared into the night. Then a dazzling shooting star blazed across the sky. See, here they are looking. And there's a shooting star blazing across the sky. Make a wish, Lucas exclaimed. The star left a sparkling trail of light as it vanished over Berth, the island of the trolls. What did you wish for? Asked Clara. I wished for an adventure, Lucas said. Me too, said Clara. Chapter 2, Troubled Trolls. See the picture here? There's Prince Lucas, and it looks like there's some knights down below the balcony talking to each other. So let's see what it's about. Troubled Trolls. The next morning, Lucas returned to the balcony with Ruskin. He noticed that the great cloud was still there. He wondered again about floating castles. Then he shook his head. He was about to go back inside when he heard a few knights talking down below. He stood still and listened. The trolls are in an uproar, he heard one of the knights declare. What seems to be the trouble? Asked another. See, that's a troll. I don't know if you've seen trolls before. You probably have. You remember from the story of the 3 Billy Goats Gruff, there was a troll guarding the bridge. That's a troll. Lucas leaned against the railing. Their prized Enderberry crop has been nearly wiped out, said the first knight. The second knight gasped, By what? Nobody knows, the first knight replied. We should go investigate. Lucas cupped his hand over his mouth. Oh no, he thought, I have to tell Clara about this. So they're Enderberry crop. So they're growing Enderberries, whatever those are, and they suddenly got wiped out. But remember in the last chapter, the shooting star went over the island of Berth, which is where the trolls live. So maybe it has something to do with the shooting star, or maybe the great blue cloud that didn't move. So anyway, there they go. There goes Princess Lucan, and there goes the dragon. So let's see where they're going. They're going to go tell Clara about it. The prince and Ruskin hurried over to Clara's house and told her what they had heard. Clara put down the broom in her hand. What are we waiting for? She asked. They ran down the hill and over the long stone bridge to Berth. Okay, so that's a stone bridge. They're running over the stone bridge to Berth. All of the Enderberry bushes grew in the meadows just over the bridge. Lucas, Clara, and Ruskin slipped into the Enderberry grove and began to inspect the bushes for clues. All they found were clusters of empty stems. Bush after bush had been picked clean of berries. See, that's the troll on the bridge. They're just running past the troll. The troll's not trying to stop them. I guess they're friendly trolls. Someone or something sure was hungry, said Lucas. Clara shifted some branches and peeked deeper into the bush. There isn't a single berry in here, she exclaimed. Then they heard a rustle in the bushes. Ruskin squawked, "Get away from my bushes!" Ooh, boy, that's an ugly troll. "Get away from my bushes!" Boomed a gruff voice behind them. Lucas, Clara, and Ruskin whirled around and came face to face with a grim-looking troll. But the troll's expression quickly changed when he saw it was the prince. He bowed. "I beg your pardon, your majesty," the troll said. "I didn't know it was you." Then the troll introduced himself as Grumble Snout. What a name, Grumble Snout. Lucas and Clara forgave the troll and apologized for their surprise visit. "We're trying to figure out what happened to your elderberries," said Clara. Grumble Snout sighed heavily. "It's very mysterious," he said darkly. "You see, most creatures don't like the taste of elderberries. They're incredibly bitter and sour, but we trolls love them, though we can only eat a handful without sugar." Lucas nodded. "Do you mind if we help look for clues?" "Of course not," Grumble Snout said. "We need all the help we can get." So, Lucas and Clara began to look for animal tracks in and around the berryless bushes. Berryless, that means they are without berries. Ruskin followed. They're looking for clues. Behind, sniffing the ground for unusual scents. But they found nothing out of the ordinary. Then Lucas saw Grumble Snout across the field talking with somebody. "I wonder who that is?" questioned Lucas. Clara looked down to see someone dressed in a brown hooded robe. And he's got a bow and arrow. He or she. The stranger had a lasso strapped to a belt and a bow with arrows slung over one shoulder. "I wonder if that stranger knows about the missing elderberries," said Clara suspiciously. "Let's find out," said Lucas. The children ran across the field toward Grumble Snout. But by the time they reached the troll, the stranger had already disappeared into the woods. "What did that person want?" Lucas asked as he caught his breath. Grumble Snout raised his bushy white eyebrows and shook his head. "Nothing, really," he said. "Just asked if I saw a shooting star last night." Lucas and Clara glanced at each other. They were both thinking the same thing. Maybe the shooting star and that stranger have something to do with the missing elderberries. "Let's go," Lucas cried. "Thank you, Grumble Snout, and goodbye." As the troll waved farewell, they charged into the woods after the mysterious traveler. There they go. There's Grumble Snout waving goodbye, and there they are charging into the woods. Okay, chapter 3, The Stranger. Okay, I need to take a short break. Got a jacket on that is making me too warm. I'm taking it off, and then I'm going to get a drink of water, and then I will continue reading. I'm in my office now. You can probably tell from, I always have the same background when I'm reading to you. And my office has started to get a little bit warm. Drink of water. We still haven't seen Pegasus, have we? Maybe Pegasus ate the elderberry. Maybe Pegasus likes elderberries. We'll see. The Stranger. There they are. They're in the forest. There's Ruskin the dragon. There's Prince Lucas. And there's Clara. The children and Ruskin zigzagged between pine trees as they raced through the forest. Soon they came to a trail that spread out in 3 different directions. They looked from one trail to the next, but they couldn't tell which one the stranger had taken. The Stranger, that's the name of the chapter. The Stranger. Okay, Lucas huffed and puffed. It looks like our only clue just got away. Clara put her hands on her knees to catch her breath. "I have another idea," she said. Why don't we do some research in the Royal Library? Lucas thought for a moment. Well, at least the library will get my mind off of losing the stranger, he said to himself. Okay, he agreed. Then, with Ruskin leading the way, they tramped toward home. When they got to the castle, they hurried to the Royal Library. There you are in the picture going home. There's the castle. Now they're going to go to the Royal Library. And that's it, the Royal Library. It's Ruskin on the floor. He's asleep as usual, and Clara and Lucas are reading. The library had a whole section on trolls. Lucas and Clara each grabbed a book and sat on a bench topped with a purple velvet cushion. Ruskin curled up by their feet while they read. Here's something about elderberries, said Clara excitedly. Lucas looked up. Oh, never mind, she said. It just says how much trolls like them. She snapped the book shut and slid it back onto the shelf. Then she picked out another book and sat down. They both read quietly. They both read quietly. That's Q-U-I-E-T-L-Y. It's kind of like quickly. It starts with the Q. That's why I thought it was going to say quickly, but they read quietly. That means they're not reading out loud like I'm reading to you. They're reading to themselves. Suddenly, Lucas's eyes grew wide. Clara looked over. Did you find something? She asked. Lucas nodded. I found a legend about a Pegasus, he said. Clara leaned in closer. You mean like a horse with wings? Exactly, he said, pointing to a drawing on the page. But what does a Pegasus have to do with missing elderberries? That's a picture of a Pegasus. Lucas couldn't take his eyes off the page. It says here that a Pegasus once visited Renly, he said. And listen to this. It also says the Pegasus loved the tart flavor of, you guessed it, elderberries. Let me see that, said Clara as she tugged at the edge of the book. Lucas pulled it right back. Hold your horses, he said excitedly. There's more. Lucas turned the page. Clara bounced on the cushion in suspense. It also says that the Pegasus came down in a great ball of light. Clara's eyes widened. From its floating castle in the sky, said Lucas triumphantly. Okay, so it came down in a great ball of light from its floating castle in the sky. So that explains the big blue cloud. It had a floating castle in the sky, and also the shooting star. It was Pegasus. Clara suddenly made a frowny face. You're making this up, she declared. Lucas stabbed the page with his index finger. That means he goes like this. He didn't use a knife. He goes like this. He stabbed the page with his index finger. It's all right here, he said proudly. Then he handed the book over to Clara. She reread the pages and saw for herself. Wow, maybe it is true, she said, mystified. Lucas nodded knowingly. That shooting star was headed straight for Birth, he said, the land of elderberries. Maybe the Pegasus has returned to Renly, said Clara, believing it more and more every minute. A wide grin spread over Lucas's face, and it's our job to find it. Chapter 4, The Great Horse. The Ghost Horse. Chapter 4, The Ghost Horse. The prince hitched 2 horses, Ivan and Scallop, to the rail outside the bakery. The children planned to get an early start, but first they had breakfast, warm blueberry muffins and milk. As they ate, they listened to Mr. Gills wait on a customer. Those are nice-looking horses you've got out there, said the customer, referring to Scallop and Ivan. One belongs to my daughter Clara, Mr. Gills said proudly, and the other to Prince Lucas. Remember the baker, his daughter is Clara. So that's Mr. Gills, his daughter is Clara Gills. So she says one of those horses belongs to my daughter and the other to Prince Lucas. The customer nodded and smiled. Speaking of horses, he went on, I saw a very unusual one on the mainland yesterday. A white stallion stood in the foothills in the early morning fog, and it looked like a ghost horse, and then it vanished like a ghost, too. Clara's father raised his eyebrows and looked at the man doubtfully. That is unusual, he commented. Yes, very unusual, repeated the customer. Then he tucked his loaf of bread into a sack, tipped his hat, and headed for the door. Clara and pinched Lucas on the leg. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? She whispered. Lucas nodded. It might be the Pegasus. Let's get going, whispered Clara. They packed some muffins and filled their canteens with water. Then they unhitched the horses and galloped across the mainland. That's galloping. Then when they got to the foothills, they began to look for clues. Clara pointed to a print on the ground up ahead. Is that something? She wondered out loud. See, that's the print. I wonder what that is. It looks like kind of a pie with a piece out of it. Maybe not. The children studied the print. It's a print. It's a horse footprint. It looked like a horse hoof print, but with a twirling pattern. It was definitely some kind of animal track. The ground is soft from the rain we had the other day, Lucas observed, so this might be a squishy Pegasus track. There are more tracks up ahead, Clara said. Let's see where they lead. They followed the tracks into the forest. Ruskin wandered in front, sniffing the ground like a bloodhound. The tracks led to a clearing with a great oak tree in the middle. They're following the tracks. See, Ruskin is acting like a tracking dog. These are the tracks. Then the tracks ended just as mysteriously as they began. They just ended. That's strange. The hoof prints end mid-stride. Lucas commented. You know what's even stranger? Clara said under her breath. Lucas followed her gaze. There, on the edge of the clearing, stood the stranger that they had seen before in birth. This time, her head was down. Okay, so it's a girl. There she is. A girl or a woman. There she is. That's the stranger. This time, her hood was down. It was a woman with short, curly hair. The woman began to run toward Lucas and Clara. She swirled her lasso over her head. Get out of the way, she cried. Get out of the way. That's a lasso. It's a rope with a little circle in it, and you try to catch things with it. Get out of the way, she cried. I bet she's trying to lasso the Pegasus. Then everything happened at once. The branches above them began to shake. The stranger hurled her lasso into the tree. They heard the sound of thrashing wings in the treetop. Ruskin squawked nervously. Ivan and Scallop spooked, and the children had to fight to stay in their saddles. There's something in the tree, and the woman with the lasso is trying to get it. Whoomp! The empty lasso fell to the ground with a thud. She didn't succeed. Everything became quiet for a moment. Then a magnificent white stallion took flight from the tree. The creature had feathery silver and white angel wings, along with a golden tail and a mane. Let you get a good look at it. It's a Pegasus. Pegasus is flying. Without a word, the woman ran off in the same direction as the Pegasus. Lucas and Clara both struggled to settle their frightened horses, but because they're sitting on their horses, and horses get kind of nervous when weird things happen like that, so they're kind of spooked a little bit. They need to settle them down. But by the time the horses had quieted down, the female hunter and the Pegasus were long gone. Chapter 5. Okay, I'm halfway through the book, and you know what this means. It means I'm going to have to read the second half next time. But I'll show you. This is Chapter 5. There's Ruskin. There's Prince Lucas and Clara. And the woman hunter ran off, the Pegasus flew away, and now they're trying to figure out what to do next. Chapter 5, a very good idea. A very good idea. Okay, we'll read this next time and find out what happens. Bye, girls.